Welcome to Passport Mommy. I'm your host, Michelle Jerson. This show is for anyone raising little humans. We feature experts with tips and advice to enrich the lives of our children. Mom and dad entrepreneurs tell us their inspiring stories. Learn about products that could make both you and your child's life easier and more fun. And of course, fellow parents discuss and laugh about what's happening in their child's world. Motherhood is a journey. Thanks for joining me on mine. Welcome to Passport Mommy. I'm Michelle Jerson. So something that I've never really talked about on the show is the fact that my mom is adopted. And so a lot of times when it comes to family history and giving my health history, when I go in for a doctor's appointment, I always say, I'm not really sure. I don't know my entire history because I just don't have that information. But I was thrilled to find out recently that Ancestry has started something new called Ancestry Health, powered by NGS. And basically, this is a powerful new way that we can basically just get a small sample. We just have to give a little sample of spit, send it back to their labs, and they will tell us a whole array of diseases and things and health risks that we should look out for. So I'm really excited to have with me today Dr. Sarah South. Very happy to have with me today Dr. Sarah South. She has served as Vice President of Laboratory Sciences at Ancestry DNA, LLC since August 2016. Previous positions have included VP of Clinical Laboratory Operations at 23andMe and Associate Professor in the Department of Pathology at the University of Utah. Thank you so much, Dr. South, for being here today.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for inviting me on the show.
Sure. So tell me a little bit about Ancestry Health. How does this product differ from other consumer genetic testing options on the market?
I think it differs in a couple key ways. So as you mentioned, it's powered by next generation sequencing, or NGS, which is a more comprehensive way of looking at your DNA than some of the other tests that are in this same category. And by looking at your DNA in a more comprehensive way, we're more likely to identify a risk if it exists. And of course, that's one of the major goals is I want to be active. I want to be preventative. I want to know about things before I'm sick so that if I can do something to prevent becoming sick, I'll do that. And so again, by next generation sequencing, we do a more thorough analysis of the DNA so that if a risk is there, we're more likely to detect it. I do want to, though, put a little caveat with that to say that not all of your health is due to your genetics. Of course, there are things like the environment, your diet, your lifestyle, choices when it comes to like frequency of exercise, types of exercise, things that also matter to your health. So we can't use genetics as a way of ruling out a condition, but we can use it as a way of identifying an increased risk in some individuals for things like particular cancers or cardiovascular conditions, familial high cholesterol. So even if you have a great diet, there may be some reasons within your genetics why you were still going to have high cholesterol. But if you know about that, then you'll know that, okay, I'm not just going to manage this by my diet. I'm going to need to go on particular medication to keep my cholesterol in check.
Right.
Yeah. So it's underlying the underlying technology helps us have a more higher likelihood of identifying the risk if it's there. But it's not just about the technology. It's also about the supportive environment. So this isn't just a lab report and then we're like, hey, good luck on understanding this. No, we want to make sure that you understand this information. So there is the lab report, and that's an important part of what you're going to share with your physician. But there's also rich consumer information, stuff that's created particularly for you so that you understand what is this condition, what are my next steps, some key takeaways, and also access to, if you need it, a genetic counselor that can, through a one-on-one telemedicine portal, help you understand what are your next steps. So I understand it can be scary to realize I have an increased risk for a cardiovascular condition. In that first moment, I may be thinking, oh, this is big. I feel a little overwhelmed, but we want to make sure that we created information that just is step by step. Here's what you need to know. Here's what you could do next. Here's some frequently asked questions. Do you have a question directly for genetic counselor? Do you want to schedule a one-on-one session? And then here's the information to share with your physician. So that your physician is not looking through pages of information. Your physician is looking at some quick stuff. Okay, here's what you were tested for. Here's what's found. And here's what professional medical societies recommend is done next to help you mitigate this risk. So it's both the technology, right, but then also that supportive environment so that you know what to do.
I love that. Exactly. And also as a mom myself, I feel that the more information that I have and that maybe my husband, if he does it as well, the better off our children can be, because then they can be armed with as much medical history information as they can. How do you feel about that? Because I know you're a mom yourself.
Yeah. I have two wonderful daughters, but I recognize that it's important I need to stay healthy for them. Right. So yes, I want to know what do I need to keep them healthy? And I know a part of that is keeping me healthy so that I can be there for them. And then also, yes, if I have particular risks, and I'll say personally, I have a particular increased risk for developing blood clots. And I want to know if I've passed that on to either of my daughters, because that is impactful information as they consider, because for example, in this particular condition with increased risk for blood clots, the risks are further exacerbated by particular hormonal therapy. So as they're getting older and as they're considering different hormonal therapy options for maybe birth control, information like this is going to be critical to them. It's been critical to me, and I'm glad to know it so that I can pass it on to them.
Right, exactly. So with COVID-19 at the top of mind for most parents this back to school season, how is Ancestry working to just better understand the possible role of genetics in COVID-19?
Yeah, that's a great question. So that's another initiative at Ancestry, again, which is to understand what are both the genetic and the non-genetic factors that play a role in both the susceptibility to COVID, but also the severity if you do become infected. Because we also recognize that even two individuals that maybe are in the same age group, or maybe of the same, they're both males or they're both females, you can still see different responses, different severities of the condition. So we know, again, there's going to be non-genetic factors. So we've identified age. We've identified it that males tend to have a more severe outcome than females. But we also know that there are probably, and we've already identified some specific genetic factors, things in the individual themselves. And so this is about understanding so that then we can innovate faster to solutions. So we aren't just looking at this information within Ancestry through a consented process. We are sharing this information with the International Research Consortium so that discoveries can be made by us, by them. Findings that are identified by a different group can be either validated or in a collaborative way in another data set so that we can move the science quickly, so that we can identify solutions quickly. And again, this is all through a consented process, specifically with current Ancestry customers. So if you're an Ancestry customer and this is something that you've heard of but had not yet decided whether or not to participate, you can still sign up. It's an ongoing study. You just go to ancestry.com. You can either go to ancestry.com or ancestry.com/health. You can learn more about the health test, and you can also learn more about this COVID-19 research study and volunteer to participate in that if you're interested.
Okay, terrific. So I think we've covered, so much of just how we can benefit from this, how our children can benefit from this. And I know also as part of Ancestry in general, I was on the website the other day and signed up for the history part of things as well, where I can go and explore my ancestry as far as typing in different people's names in the family and finding out all kinds of information. And I have to say, I have been up until 3 a.m. just looking through all types of stuff. Tell me a little bit about that part of Ancestry that, once people sign up for Ancestry Health, that they can also have access for a small additional fee for this other part of Ancestry.
Yeah. So the Ancestry Health test will include the origins part of your DNA experience. So it will not only tell you about your health risks that may have been identified, but it will also let you know what thousands of years ago, where did your ancestors come from? Hundreds of years ago, where were your ancestors migrating? Who in this world are you related to? So it's great information about that, but you're right. There's also this whole rich family history record side of the business. For me personally, I've been able to find the ship records with my dad and my grandpa and my uncle as they immigrated from England to the United States. And my dad has kind of late stage dementia right now. He's in his late 80s, but I showed him this ship record and all of these memories came back of being on that voyage. He told me about the journey. He told me about who else was on the ship. And this was something that was 60 years ago for him. But yeah, so there's great records information there that you can find. We've got the largest collection of digitized records, things like census records, newspaper articles, death certificates, military records, gravestone images. I mean, just, you're right. And you have, as you mentioned, spent hours just researching this and learning so much about your ancestors. And it gives you that sense of where did I come from, which is all part of understanding yourself.
Absolutely. Dr. Sarah South, thank you so much for joining me today. I know I'm going to be back on the site. I've been on there every single day since I signed up. I can't wait to get my Ancestry Health powered by NGS results. And you'll have to come back on after I get those results and we can talk about them. But real quickly, what is the website where people can go?
Ancestry.com/health.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I'm Michelle Jerson, Passport Mommy. I don't know about you, but I have not gone to the hair salon since March of this year. My grays are coming in, my hair is getting long, and I've just been so cautious though about going to the salon with COVID. And so I'm thrilled to have with me today Abby Thompson, because she is a Sally hair color educator and stage artist, and she's going to give us so much great advice about how we can color our hair at home, because maybe you don't want to go to the salon, or maybe you can't go to the salon because you're taking care of little ones at home like I am and you don't have a break. So thank you so much for being here today, Abby.
Thanks for having me.
Sure. So what advice do you have for somebody who wants to color their hair at home for the first time, who's never done it before?
Okay. Well, I always recommend safety first. Doing a skin sensitivity test, which is called a patch test. A patch test is the best way you can guard against sensitivity. If you have an irritation or reaction to color, you'll know in advance. So you know that it's not safe to continue with the process. Highly, highly recommend strand testing. Strand testing is like test driving, but for hair color. It's the best way you can preview what you've purchased is going to get to your desired result.
Terrific, because I have to say that while I like to do a lot of things on my own, I'm so scared about doing hair color on my own because I don't know how it's going to come out. And I feel like I go to a salon for a reason because they are the experts. So what are the most common mistakes that DIYers make and how can we avoid them?
Well, when you get to start the coloring process, the biggest mistake you can have is not having everything in front of you that you need for that process. So make sure to lay everything out beforehand. Make sure you have your developer. Make sure you have gloves, maybe a bottle or a bowl and brush that you need for your application. And also an after color treatment. Ion Color Brilliance has a wonderful after color treatment that helps lock the color in and stop oxidation, which is a cause for premature color fading.
Okay. All right. Very good. So we have all of our materials in front of us now. Is it something that we can do on our own, or do we need to enlist our partner or somebody else to help us to reach all the sections of our hair?
Everybody has their own comfort levels. So it's about building your confidence in coloring. It's definitely something you can do at home. I do my own color from home. I always have. I understand that even as a stylist, it can be a struggle, but it can be done easily. As long as you test strand and you know your processing time, you'll get that desired result. Even if it's a little wonky in back, it'll still turn out just fine.
Okay. All right. So what are the top 3 hair color trends you're seeing this fall?
Sally Beauty has actually forecasted 3 extremely popular trends that are going to be amazing for DIY people at home. It's a great time to try out something new because you might not be seen for a while. So even if you do make a little bobble, it's not a big deal. But
Right.
a lot of people are really uncomfortable with putting lightener directly onto their scalp in the bleaching process. So a good way to avoid that is actually staying about 2 inches away from the scalp, leaving a nice natural root area. and applying the lightener actually halfway down the hair to the ends. That way you can try platinum without the commitments. You're not constantly doing the upkeep. Using a toner after will help cancel out those brassy tones and leave a nice icy white finish. We call that our smoky ice trend for this fall. Blue hair don't care. Blue is not just for old ladies anymore. It is super hot for this fall. Sapphire is the birthstone of the month. So sapphire in Ion Color Brilliant Semi-Permanent Brights is a great tone. It's a nice, rich, deep blue hue, and it's going to be really popular for this fall for DIY customers. And as always, it is always a trend to go a little darker for fall. So falling back to brown out of blonde is very typical this time of year. We have an Inspired by Nature line, which is a very natural-based color line. I would recommend going a little bit darker with your natural shade or what you're at right now. We have two shades that are chestnut brown and honey brown. That's a really good combination to enrich in about 3/4 of your hair. So you do the roots about 3/4 of the way down with that shade, then leave a little bit of the ends out. Just do the honey brown on the ends for the last few minutes. That way you have a nice ombre finish. You can leave some of that summer fun on the ends so you don't feel like you're completely going back to the cold summer month or winter months.
Right. I like that. Yeah. And it's always nice to have a little bit of dimension in your hair as well. So why is coloring at home easier now than ever before? What can ease our fears about doing this?
Trying on color before you commit, not just test stranding, but trying on the full color. So if you download the Sally app, it actually has a really cool tool called Color View. You can try on any shade of hair color available at Sally Beauty. Just to ensure that you're going to be satisfied with the end result, that it's going to match your skin tone. And it's a great way to preview and make sure that you're going to be satisfied with that end result.
Oh, terrific. And then once you do the hair color on yourself, does it give you the instructions as far as for how long you should keep it on for and exactly how to do it?
There will be instructions on sallybeauty.com, but again, strand test to ensure desired results is highly recommended.
Okay, great. So again, one more time, sallybeauty.com. And what are just some other quick things that we could find on the website when we go there?
Well, not just the trends that I talked about, but many others, a lot of tips and tricks, a lot of hair color 101. You can purchase all these products online. You can also purchase in-store, and select areas actually have curbside pickup for those who don't want to quite go into stores yet. Also on sallybeauty.com, there is a lot of information about our new credit card where you can get all of these trends at a discounted price and more rewards in your pocket.
Great. I love it. Thank you so much, Abby Thompson. I love learning about any way that I could do anything more by myself at home, especially during this time of COVID. And you know what? And not even when it's COVID, but just in general, we know salons, it can add up. It could be expensive. So if this is something that we can learn how to do on our own, terrific. Thank you so much, Abby Thompson.
You're very welcome. Have a colorful day.
You're listening to Passport Mommy. I am so thrilled to have back with me today Amberlynn Vital. She is an educator with Garden of Life. She completed her training as a nutritionist through American Health Sciences University in 2000 and as an Ayurvedic clinical consultant through the Florida Vedic College in 2005. After her years consulting on integrative nutrition and practices with physicians, acupuncturists, and chiropractors, Amber became an educator with Garden of Life in 2014 and continues to empower extraordinary health nationwide. And I'm so happy to have her with me today because as a mom, I feel like I'm always trying to keep everybody else healthy, whether it's my husband, my aging parents, keeping my kids' immunity up. But what about us? What about our health and well-being, both mentally and physically? Amber, thank you so much again for being here with me today.
It is a pleasure and an honor. Thank you, Michelle.
Sure. So, we've been talking about just everything that we do to make sure our family is healthy, physically, emotionally, everything. But what about us? I don't know about you during this time, but we always have so much going on. How do we make sure we're taking care of us?
Gosh, am I dating myself to refer to the Calgon commercials? Remember?
Oh, I'm with you.
And it was like, yes. Pour the bubble bath. And it's just way beyond that now. It's way beyond that. I remember nursing, especially my second child. I got into being up at night nursing her because I was reading a book. So I would read this book while nursing her in the middle of the night. And it was just the only time I could read a book. And so I was like, actually, this isn't a bad idea. So I think, you have to think out of the box. You have to not try to be so regimented. You don't want to allow people to make you feel bad. There may be a solution to carving out time for yourself that other people might not be aware of. We just got a dog. She's pregnant also. So, you know, and I was like, oh, I don't know if we can take all this on, but what it does is, and I'm not telling the kids this, I have to get up at 5:30 with her because she's got to go out, you know, and at first I was like, oh God, I just want to sleep in, you know, and then I realized, wow, I'm up at 5:30 and then the sun comes up and I see the sunrise and then I have time to have my coffee and then there's time to talk to my husband. And then like, there's all this time that you don't normally get. And it's really, believe me, when someone tells you, oh, wake up at 4 a.m., you'll have plenty of time to have mommy time. And you're like, whatever, sleeping. But I'll tell you, when life forces you into it, that is a great time. Because when do your kids go down? Depends on their age, but 7, 8, 9, the latest. 8 was the bedtime for the longest time. Yeah. What do we do then? Oh, draw laundry, clean up the kitchen, you know, restructure all of that. Restructure all of that and be creative about where to find that mommy time. Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, I'm with you. And I have to say that sounds like my day. So usually I would have woken up. So my son wakes up every morning, 5:30 or 6:30 on the dot. And I said, oh no, this is too early. And even if I'm going to stay up at that time, you need to go back to sleep. So lately I've been nursing him and then he goes back to sleep for about another 2 hours. So for a while, especially during this whole pandemic, I started waking up early. I said, you know what, when he wakes up, I'm just going to stay up. And I've worked all hours of the clock, but when I'm not working early mornings, I was not waking up at 6 or 6:30. Right. But then I realized, like you just said, how awesome that was because I got to have my tea. I got to maybe go for a bike ride. I got to see, if that was the only hour I had in the day, it set me up for a productive day. And for one that I was okay in my own mind because I thought I already had my time. I got my exercise in and I've played with that now because there are many nights that I don't go to bed until 1 or 2 in the morning because I'm up doing, like you said, all the housework, then all my work, and I'm exhausted in the morning. And I know that's not the way to go. And I have to learn to stop, right? Because then I miss that window for myself in the morning. Or if I do try to take it, I'm just exhausted and that's not sustainable.
Right. And that brings up a very, very important point. If you are that tired, exercise should not be the first thing on your list. Right. Maybe some stretching, finding a way to rebalance so you get better sleep that night. You know, so if we've had children, most of us struggled with getting back to the weight that we want to be. Okay. So we've had belly weight. That's cortisol. That's like you're sleep deprived, you're stressed. Getting rid of that belly weight is very difficult. And the older we get, the harder it is. Yeah. So that's stress hormones. If you're not sleeping well, it's not going to go away. And so even in like college age women, when they are studying and sleep deprived and socializing and partying, and then they say, oh, I'm starting to get a belly, I'm going to go do CrossFit, you know, that just makes it worse. It just makes it worse. So it really triggers this fight or flight response in the body, which is just going to make more stress hormone, cortisol, because you're not really running from anything. Your life is not threatened, but your body thinks it is. So it's like, well, let's just store stuff in case. Yeah. And so you have to really rest and you have to rejuvenate. So number one for mommy is, you know, carving out the time and then prioritizing what you need to do with that time based upon how you're feeling, not putting a guilt trip on yourself to exercise. If you're not sleeping, you shouldn't be exercising yet. You can stretch, you can do a little yoga. You shouldn't be out there hitting the weights and that kind of a thing. A walk, a gentle walk, something like that is good. A swim, if you have access to it, is good. And then let's get your sleep where it needs to be. But for sure, if you get up at 5 or 5:30 or 4:30 a few mornings in a row, you'll go to sleep earlier.
Right. I know.
To adjust.
Exactly. And I will say that another thing that I do, which is a bad habit, is that because I have so much work to do at night, my body could be telling me at 9 or 10 o'clock, go to sleep, but I force myself to stay up. So then guess what I start doing? I start eating so that I could stay awake.
Yes. Okay. Yes. So Dr. Perlmutter's book, brainwash talks about that. So when we're sleep deprived, we make decisions out of the amygdala part of our brain, and they're bad. They're bad decisions. They're the devil whispering in your ear, not the angel.
Right.
And so we tend to eat more carbs. When we notice that if you wake up rested, you might not need breakfast right away. You feel pretty balanced. If you're exhausted, you just want carbs. You just want sweets, and you need to eat like now. The days I get up at 3:30 to leave the house at 4:30 to catch a plane, oh my gosh, all I want is like pancakes.
Right.
You know? So we don't make very good decisions. And that's a very good Ayurvedic thing that you bring up, because there's Ayurvedic times for each dosha. But in general, nobody should be going to bed past 10, and certainly not past 11. And nobody should be sleeping in past 7.
Right.
It gets you into this kapha time where you get really sluggish and you get kind of out of cycle. Actually, we can be our most productive if we get up at 4, which would mean you'd be needing to go to bed 8 or 9, which is just crazy to me, unless you're a good meditator, and then you don't need as much sleep, but I'm not.
Right.
So I do.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I've always been somebody that needs those 7 or 8 hours, and I can't tell you the last time I've gotten that. And I know it's not good.
Yes.
And and it just, and then, it other things happen too. So if your spouse is not getting the sleep that they need, and then you're both tired, how can you possibly be the best husband or wife to each other and the best mom or dad to your kids?
Right. You're grumpy. I mean, okay, so I've been divorced and I'm remarried. So one thing I want to say this is a great place to just be totally transparent.
Yes.
What I learned from my divorce was, once we started sharing time with the kids, oh my gosh, we both had so much me time. Yeah. So why not, while we're married, say, you get the kids today and for the weekend, and I get them Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And you take big chunks of time where each of you is responsible, and you work it around work schedules, and you start to find that rhythm again. And all of a sudden you realize, oh, I can actually take care of myself and take care of my family too. Right. Do it while you're married. Yeah. Let that save your marriage. Let that save your relationship. Don't learn it from a divorce, but it was like an eye opener. I was like, oh my gosh, could have done this a long time ago.
Yeah, that is excellent advice, because I will say that is one of the biggest challenges with myself and my husband is the time issue, and who needs what time, and who needs what time to get work done, and who needs what time just for mental sanity time.
Right. And what is the priority?
Right.
And finances usually get to take the priority. And that's understandable, but unfortunate, because each of us also has a different capacity to function without sleep and under stress and without the proper diet. Everybody's got a different capacity. And I'm just as bad about being judgy about it as anybody else is. What do you mean you can't get up and,
Right.
But we all have different capacities. So we have to really evaluate what is the best thing for the health of the family. If your husband in getting up early is going to be a bear all day, and that's going to create a bad family environment, then that's just not the best solution.
Right.
And then you want to have time with your partner too. That is so important. I cannot stress enough how important it is that kids see that their parents have a loving relationship, and that they see them doing things together, not just always separate and divide and conquer and, division of labor. You have to see that community. But you have to both be rested enough to come back together in that loving way.
Right.
I remember one time looking around at the park and seeing all these dads, just like, oh my God, why am I at the park? Walking around pretending that this is our family time. If that is not the thing, find the thing that is the thing,
Right.
Don't force it.
And, and you, as far as other moms who are divorced or thinking about divorce, or maybe are remarried, not remarried, I think that's also something that they have to think about too, because if you're not happy, it's not healthy to stay in a marriage that is not good for you and your children either. And that takes a lot of strength to figure out to leave.
It really does. I mean, there's financial considerations, and then there's moral and social considerations, extended family considerations. And it's like, many people feel like it's selfish. It's their own selfish decision to enter into a divorce situation. And we can't judge each other, because a lot of times it's actually the best situation for the family. And everybody has their different point of view on that. We all have our own experiences on it, but I definitely learned a lot from my path And I learned a lot about, getting a time to really get a handle on how I wanted to raise a family and being able to create those proper patterns,
right,
that were healthy for the family.
Exactly. Well, I give you a ton of credit for that. And I'm sure there are other moms during this time that are being challenged and trying to figure out which way do I go? And so during all of this, we have to maintain our mental sanity. And on top of that, we talked about exercise, but I'm also a firm believer in that the certain types of foods that we eat can help fuel that mental state of ours.
They definitely do. How much time do we have to talk about that?
We have a minute left. Then we can talk about it in the next segment.
Yeah. I mean, I noticed when I introduced MCT oil, medium chain triglycerides from coconut oil, into my diet without changing anything else, not changing carb content, just adding it to my coffee. After I got over the fact that you have to go to the bathroom a little bit more, and that ultimately adjusts. But that can be good for a lot of moms. Wow, so much more mental energy and a change in body composition, that just happened on its own, a change in the way your fat looks and where it is and how it moves in the body and when it goes away. So yeah, there are little hacks like that, and sugar is just not your friend. So anything that helps you avoid it, and I don't mean Splenda, is a really good. Yeah.
And I would love to talk about that more. Yeah. Coming up, because I think that there's a theory too that, I shouldn't eat coconut oil because of the fat in it, or I shouldn't eat olive oil. And I
hope we're not still there.
Oh, I know. I eat a ton of coconut oil. And so for anybody who might still be there, I want to talk about that a little bit more.
Let's dispel that myth.
Yeah.
Let's get rid of it.
Exactly.
Let's divorce ourselves from that myth.
Exactly. As you've been enjoying Amber's advice and wisdom, I want to remind you that she works in the education department for a company called Garden of Life. I've been using and recommending Garden of Life products for quite some time now, and I can honestly tell you that every conversation I have with Amber, both on and off the air, has confirmed for me that this company goes above and beyond in everything they do. Garden of Life is a health and wellness company that makes vitamins and supplements, but it's important that you understand that they are a food-first company. So what does that mean? Well, it means that they do not use any synthetic, chemically made versions of vitamins and supplements that try to mimic the nutritional properties of food. Instead, they only use real, honest-to-goodness food. The foods they use are the cleanest foods and most nutritionally dense foods possible because they are organic and non-GMO. I love knowing that when I give these products to my family, I am fueling them with powerful, clean food nutrition. So if you're looking for everything from vitamin A to zinc or probiotics to protein, I highly encourage you to check out Garden of Life products in your local health food store. Amber, thank you for being here with me. We were talking all about how food can really fuel our mental as well as our physical state. And before the break, we were talking about coconut oil. And I eat a lot of coconut oil. I tend to order the huge, massive, 56 ounce, I don't know, the huge jars of coconut oil at a time. So tell us a little bit more about the benefits.
So, first, fat is not bad. Even saturated fat is not bad. Well, what is saturated fat? It's a fat that stays solid at room temperature. It has to do with the molecular chains and blah, 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 blah. But it stays solid at room temperature like butter does and coconut oil does and palm oil does. Okay. And so it's not bad for you, even when it's cow saturated fat. It's really not. It's a question of what else it is in combination with, and how much of it is in your diet. Really, you just got to do away with things that aren't fatty to begin with. Is corn on the cob oily? Not until you put butter on it, right? It's not. It's soybean, edamame. Are they oily? No, they're not. Have you ever eaten cottonseed? Have you ever eaten rapeseed or canola seed? No, we don't. So why would we consume fats from these things? That's first and foremost. These are things that are going to make our metabolism sluggish. They're not stable in our body. They don't provide the right precursors for everything that we need in our nervous and our endocrine system. So you got to get rid of things that don't ooze fat when you squeeze them. Walnuts, you squeeze it, it's oily. Okay. Coconuts, oily. Avocados, oily. Olives, oily. Other nuts and seeds, oily. palm nuts, oily. So these are things that give up their fats easily. Fish, oily. That's what we should be eating. Grass-fed butter, oily. That's what you want. It should give it up easily. Those are healthy fats. And when you fuel yourself with healthy fats, you have this lubricant for your nervous system. So if you're dry, if you're depleted, if you're exhausted and overwhelmed, fat will carry you further. Fat will lubricate the electrical machinery and soothe it. And so a frazzled mom needs more good fats. Yeah. And coconut oil, or even the distillate of coconut oil, medium chain triglycerides, just in our case, it's just steam distilled coconut oil to pull out some particular, very easily absorbable fats that get right into your liver and right to your brain, like within minutes, and help soothe those pathways and help provide energy. And they provide ketones in the liver, but they can also go straight to the brain and provide energy to brain cells. So that's good stuff. And if you are drinking coffee or tea or chai or golden milk or matcha, you can just add it to that and froth it up. You can take it by the spoonful, which I know is weird for some people, but if I were still had kids your age and I had MC, which I did not when my kids were your age, I would totally have gotten up in the morning and just taken a spoonful and nursed and done all this stuff and then gone on and found, and today that's the main calories that I get in the morning. Coffee with medium chain triglycerides, grass-fed butter, collagen, a bunch of mushrooms and other things in there. And I'm productive until noon or later.
Right.
So those are my calories. Those are my morning calories. They're easily digestible. They don't weigh me down. And my brain is functioning and I'm not worrying about what I'm going to eat next. So that has been a huge game changer for me. That is something that gives me more mommy time. Because I just don't have to fuel myself. It's very easy. And coffee's not the devil. Coffee is not bad. If you're addicted to it, it is bad. Coffee's an amazing antioxidant. Buy it organic, buy it direct trade. But it's an amazing antioxidant. It's very good for us. It's a great medium for so many things. If coffee's not your thing, then do something else. But don't be afraid of those good fats. And we're coming out of a time of being stuck in place with whoever we got sheltered with. And it's put people into very challenging situations. We've seen our own resilience. Or lack thereof. Right. We've problems that have been festering have come to light. Certain other problems have been resolved. Everybody's in a different space than they were 6 months ago. It's just very, very different. And if you are not fueling yourself properly, you are in no state to make decisions. Right. You're not in a state to make decisions about the health of your family, about what to do next. In March, we were in the right state to make a decision that we needed to leave Brooklyn. We needed to go and stay with family elsewhere and figure it out later. Yeah. We needed to be where nature was. Right. We didn't need to be shut inside. And that was a sound decision. And I credit proper nutrition to being able to even make that decision and not feel paralyzed. Sugar, refined flours, carb addictions, soda addictions, lack of sleep, mood swing cycles because of the foods you're eating and the state of your microbiome, these will inhibit your ability to make a sound decision, even about, is my child sick and I need to go to the doctor, or, do I take this job, or what do I do first, the laundry or the bathroom? Like you can't make, and you're just frazzled. So you have to nourish yourself. Get up in time to nourish yourself and find these shortcuts. For some people, it's a smoothie. I don't like cold things even in the summer, first thing in the morning. Right. I like warm things even in the summer in the morning. They're very soothing. That's an Ayurvedic thing. You just don't take in cold food ever. Right. Medicine too. You just don't do it. Shuts everything down. So, it's a hack and it really helps. Yeah. And if I had it when my kids were little, I would have been much happier. Yeah. You have motivated me on 2 accounts. One, I'm going to bed earlier tonight and I'm going to do the coconut oil. And, I do matcha green tea in the morning,
But I'm going to try the coconut oil in that because I usually just use coconut oil like on my sweet potato and things like that. But yeah, I'm going to try that. Very motivating. And now maybe next time we'll talk about how to get our sugar addicted husbands to get off the sugar.
And we're going to slip coconut oil into their diets.
Yeah, right. Exactly. As you've been enjoying Amber's advice and wisdom, I want to remind you that she works in the education department for a company called Garden of Life. I've been using and recommending Garden of Life products for quite some time now. And I can honestly tell you that every conversation I have with Amber, both on and off the air, has confirmed for me that this company goes above and beyond in everything they do. Garden of Life is a health and wellness company that makes vitamins and supplements, but it's important that you understand that they are a food-first company. So what does that mean? Well, it means that they do not use any synthetic, chemically made versions of vitamins and supplements that try to mimic the nutritional properties of food. Instead, they only use real, honest-to-goodness food. The foods they use are the cleanest foods and most nutritionally dense foods possible because they are organic and non-GMO. I love knowing that when I give these products to my family, I am fueling them with powerful, clean food nutrition. So if you are looking for everything from vitamin A to zinc or probiotics to protein, I highly encourage you to check out Garden of Life products in your local health food store. Thank you so much for joining me again today. Stay healthy and stay well.